Yeah, so hello again. Let me welcome our second facilitator for the day. That's our dear Professor Juma Shabani. By way of introduction of Professor Juma Shabani, he is currently the president of the Burundi National Commission for Higher Education. It's like the equivalent of the NUC, but at a higher level, because National Universities Commission only covers the universities. In this case, it's total global higher education. Professor Shabani is the president of the Burundi Academy of Sciences and Technology. He's a professor of mathematical physics at the University of Burundi and director of the doctoral school of the same university. He's also chairman of the International Conference on Quality Assurance in Higher Education in Africa, where is my boss, and coordinator of the African Union's Quality Assurance Subcluster of the Continental Education Strategy for Africa. For 17 years, he was at UNESCO. He was senior specialist for higher education in Africa, director of the UNESCO Harare and Bamako cluster offices, UNESCO rep to several countries and regional economic communities, and director at UNESCO headquarters responsible for development and coordination of UNESCO's programs in higher education in Africa. 17 years in UNESCO. But before joining UNESCO, he held several senior positions, including being Deputy Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. I can see that my friend and brother, Professor Olujegede, has come into the room. Welcome him. And Vice Rector of the University of Burundi, over to Professor Juma Shabani to give his lecture on the state of on trends in STEM education in Burundi.
Good morning. So this presentation is on recent developments on STEM education in Burundi. This development in Burundi will be influenced by at least 4 factors.
Yes, are we losing you now? Hello?
Context, factors that play a role in the development of STEM in Burundi. I hope you hear me now.
Oh, yes, we can.
Yes, we can. So the first one is the various reforms that took place in primary and secondary education. There are at least 2 that I will highlight. Then we have what we call the bachelor, master's, and doctorate reform, which is playing a major role on STEM's development. Then we have the harmonization of academic programs within the East African community and the distance education that started just recently, in the context of COVID lockdown. So, but the major challenges from the setting are that there is poor planning of the various reforms, lack of coordination between, for example, primary education, secondary and higher education, lack of ownership. Sometimes the reforms are launched, but people really don't understand what to do, and also lack of capacity for implementation of those reforms. This is in general. Now, if we can take the first reform of secondary education, that goes back to 1990. This is what was called the colleges, it's like community colleges education at the lowest level. The major challenge, the major objective was to widen access, but of course, without any planning, without adequate resources, and without qualified teachers. So it really had a very negative impact on quality of STEM education in secondary schools, especially since those schools now represent around 80% of all the network of secondary schools in Burundi. So in terms of resources, these schools receive some grants from the government, at least for salaries for staff, teachers, and for books. but remaining expenditures are coming from children fees. Some people say that it is free, but they have to pay for that. And also one of the specificities that the management of these schools involve the local community itself, whether they have the capacity, they have the skills or not, but they are there. And again, as in the case of Sierra Leone, lack of materials, laboratories, and other facilities. So the teaching is almost theoretical at that level. One major thing is that around 1994, when there was genocide in Rwanda and also a war in Congo, a lot of teachers left the country to go back to their countries. We were using a lot of teachers from Congo, DRC, and Rwanda. They left. So it also had a major impact on the quality. And this is when the country decided to set up this double shift systems. So this is the situation there, which means inadequate numbers of teachers and qualified teachers. This is most of the major characteristic of that school level. Now, let's look at the bachelor, master's, doctorate reform, which comes from the Bologna process in Europe to build the European higher education system, higher education area. BMD is one of the objectives of this process, but it was adopted by African countries quite late, around 2005 and so on. So what is the major characteristic of this reform? It's just about harmonization, to harmonize the level of qualifications from 7 in Francophone countries to 3 in Anglophone, harmonize the programs so that they can be comparable, harmonize the quality assurance mechanism and so on, so that we can have a system where qualifications, programs are comparable, and then we can promote mutual recognition of qualifications and also mobility. So this, it has major pillars. The first one is to promote active teaching, including teaching of STEM. If you look at the credit system, it is 60% is for face-to-face or staff-student interactions. And then even within that 60%, you have 40% which is allocated to practical work, labs, tutorials, and so on. So it is really very practical, very active. Sure. And in addition to the 60, you have 40%, which is allocated to student individual work. So students were supposed to be given assignment like the one we are seeing in this course, given assignments and giving back their work, having interactions and so on. And curriculum was supposed to be based on learning outcomes, how you address them, and also use of ICT in teaching and learning. Again, these are some of there are some challenges in implementing this. Now I'll come back to this. Now, when it comes to teacher education, we have 2 institutions here in Burundi which are as a mandate to teach or to train higher education, secondary school teachers. This is the University of Burundi, Institute for Applied Pedagogy, and also the School for Teacher Trainers Education. So this, when the reform was adopted, these institutions were given a mandate to develop programs that will respond to those needs of secondary school teachers. But of course, the numbers there are so huge that these 2 institutions alone cannot respond adequately to that. So they started with bachelor a few years ago, I think in 2015-16. And now, more recently, just a few months in March, the National Commission for Higher Education accredited a joint program for master's degree between the 2 institutions. But again, I think in terms of outcomes, people will be trained, the numbers again are limited. So we should look at other alternatives. When it comes to engineering, the situation is quite different because the students who are coming to that faculty of engineering at the University of Burundi, they are not well prepared to start straight immediately the training. So this faculty has decided, of course, with the support of the National Commission for Higher Education, to extend the number of years of training to add at least one semester, which is specifically allocated to internship and also training in the enterprises. Now, the challenges are at least three. One of them, up to now, most of the academic staff, and even at the political level, they don't understand this reform, so they want to operate within the old system, and it is completely different. So then the academic staff, most of them, they lack the capacity to train in this new system. As I said, new curricula, new student assignments and so on. They cannot cope with that because of lack of capacity. This should be addressed. And of course, lack of skills to use ICT. And this is really a major challenge because the number of teachers in secondary schools that need training, that need to be developed is huge. And with face-to-face alone, we cannot achieve that. So these are the major challenges when it comes to implementation of that bachelor, master's, doctorate reform. Now, there was a second reform of primary education. This was in 2013. And this was a transition from universal primary education, which was a 6 years program, a 6 years system, to move now to basic education at 9 years. Well, at primary education, the completion rate was only 80%. So some people, they say, you want to extend so that, you know, the 100% will go through the basic education, the primary education, and then you will say that you have achieved universal primary education. Well, I think partly it's like that, but what is given as a motivation is that when the children fail at that level, they are not really prepared to do other things, even to go to vocational schools or things like that. So they should be given more time, more knowledge skills, so that they can be able, when they leave the 9-year system, they can be able to join other training programs like vocational education. Now, here the other innovation is that the curriculum was made in such a way that it should be again very active. Of course, it was also related to what are the provisions of the BMD program. Now, to do this, you need people who are prepared. You need teachers at the university level, at other levels, who are prepared to implement this kind of curriculum. And they are not yet, they are very few. And there is also an incentive to promote STEM education at this level. Those who choose to go to science or to STEM, they are given priority when it comes to enrolling to boarding schools because they are very limited. They are very limited, and then the priority is given to STEM students who choose to take STEM, just to encourage them to take that direction. Now, here again, the challenge is, you see, it comes again, unqualified teachers, lack of labs, lack of follow-up actions at the education level. Because when this reform was launched, higher education level was not involved so that they could see what are the responses to bring, what are the programs to respond to those challenges. But it is now that it is being corrected, corrected to try to respond to that. Now, there is a new initiative. This is what Prof. Okebukola, well, almost similar, what he was calling special science schools. In 2016, the government decided to promote what they call STEM secondary schools of excellence. These are schools with a limited number of students, with equipments, with labs, with good teachers, so that they can develop good groups of students who can go further and do STEM education when they are well prepared. So this started just 2016. We still need to evaluate and see how to extend the numbers because the numbers are today still limited. There are just a few schools, but maybe we need to extend, but after an evaluation. Now, we have another development. This is what we call harmonization of education programs in the East African community. Burundi is now a member of the East African community. There are 6 countries: Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and South Sudan. So one of the major commitment there is that all the higher education, all the programs, actually from primary education to higher education, should be harmonized in terms of making sure they can be comparable. At least there is a core group of courses which is almost the same to all the programs. They can be electives that each country could select, taking into account its own specialties. So now, once a program is harmonized, normally it should be implemented in all the countries, which means we are getting then the situation where with STEM, we are forced to align to some norms and to some minimum requirements, which will help us to bring up the system if we are able to develop capacity of teachers and so on and so forth. So for the time being, we have in higher education 8 programs that has been harmonized. Just give the list here: business studies, computer science and information technology, education, medicine and dentistry, engineering, mathematics, sports education, and agriculture. So what it means is that normally the Commission for Higher Education in Burundi should take these programs and try to prepare institutions so that they can implement the way it has been adopted at the regional level. Of course, it provides a lot of advantages because once a degree is delivered, is given here, it can be automatically recognized in the East African community, and then it gives also possibility of recognition for professional qualifications, meaning that an engineer from here, if he has been trained in the context of quality which is required, can just go and settle himself in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam, and do his work without any other conditions. These are really incentives for us to develop the proper programs for the STEM. Now, distance learning, just quickly, we had a lot of introduced distance learning. We've been telling people that without distance education, it is difficult to train and develop capacity for all those people who are in the countryside. Sure. We need to find some kind of, even if it's combined, but also distance education so that they can be exposed to pedagogy, to contents and so on, to improve their qualifications, to improve also their skills, for this. But then there was a lot of resistance until now. Now there are some professors who are somewhere, they travel somewhere, they are now locked down there, they cannot come back, they have to teach. So we do. So they came and we discussed and said, we have all these cameras and this system. You can come and teach. The person from there can teach using distance education. And they are doing it. They are very happy. And now they say they are committed to continue using this.
Very good.
Now, if we try to look at the concluding remarks, I will say that we know what are the challenges. We know the challenges: inadequate numbers of teachers, unqualified, lack of labs, lack of, and so on. But at the same time, we now have all the frameworks required, to address those issues. We have the BMD reform, which provides all those requirements, what shall be done in terms of pedagogy, in terms of ABCD. We have also this East African community harmonization system, which gives us also the framework to try to address these issues. now we need to strengthen the capacity to implement the programs that will help the secondary education and even primary education to address those challenges that they are facing in order to improve STEM. And here we think that now with distance education coming up, with the doctoral school, where we are now also enrolling students in STEM education, and we think that this student will also play a role back to try to improve situation at the university and at other lower levels. The National Commission for Higher Education is also developing a program mainly to help the institutions, the universities, to develop curricula that are responsive to these issues, and also to develop and strengthen their capacities to be able to build those capacities to be able to improve the STEM education in the country. So we think that we came from the 90s a long way, but now we have all the frameworks which are needed. We have the support from the government. We need now to do to implement these programs through distance education, doctoral school, and the commission. And we believe that this will help to improve the STEM education in Burundi. Thank you very much.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so very much, Professor Juma Shabani. True to type, you see, when I attend international meetings with Professor Shabani, and he takes the floor, as he knows, as he jolly well knows, when he makes his presentation, it's usually very deep and very expansive. So I'm talking about length and breadth now. As you can see, he has given us some insight, deep insight into STEM education developments in Burundi. Ladies and gentlemen, dear students from Nigeria, from Burundi, from DRC, and from Ghana, we have listened to developments, trends in STEM education in Ghana, in Burundi, and in Sierra Leone. Short of bringing the ministers here, we have brought those who have been instrumental in shaping STEM education in their countries. Look at Bamanja, for instance. It's the Bamanja Commission. I mean, you can't talk about STEM education in Sierra Leone without talking about Bamanja. So it's like bringing the minister here. You can't talk of STEM education in Ghana without talking about the Anama Mensah Commission. About Mensah report is there. So we brought him here. And you can't talk about STEM education in the whole of Africa, and especially in Burundi, without talking about Professor Juma Shabani. So we brought them here, and we've listened to bringing us up to date in what is happening in their countries. Surely we can see some cross-cutting themes. Poor teacher preparation, poor quality teachers, under-resourced schools, poor delivery of STEM education. But the happy news, for me at least, is that we can see islands of success. We can see that African countries are not just relaxing and resting on their oars, but steps are being taken. Reforms are in place in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Burundi, everywhere. So we continue to applaud our leaders, and we know the road is still far ahead. The road ahead is still very long, but the journey of 1,000 kilometers will start with one step. So that being said, the way we have a little time, the way I would suggest we go is this. I'll be asking our students first about the lessons that they have learned from the three experiences: Ghana, Sierra Leone, and Burundi. And after which we'll then get our resource persons. I can see several vice chancellors in here. VC of Ibadan is here. Our President Academy of Science is here. By the way, President Academy of Science, you are going to present our appreciation plaque to Professor Shabani for the reason that he's also President of the Burundi Academy of Science and Technology. So President Jam President, just like we used to have this there. So that's what's going to happen. And then Professor Arigba Bovisi of Taswell, you are here. We deeply appreciate you. Secretary General, AVCNU, Professor Faborode, we really appreciate you. They're all in the house here. They're all in class. And the Professor Onimi Briggs. We're going to ask you later. But for the first set of discussions, I'm just going to ask some of our students to intervene, to look at what are the cross-cutting themes. Don't look at, please don't look at what we already know. Don't consider poor teachers, poor teaching and all of that. Let's look at the bright spots. Let's look at the night sky. It's dark. Let's look at what are the things that we are doing right that we must sustain. Let me start with Oladejo. Oladejo, can you take the floor and tell us what are the things that you are saying? Let me mute everybody first, and then we can you can then unmute yourself when I call you. So Oladejo, can you tell me what are the happy things that are happening in these countries, maybe also in Nigeria?
Thank you very much, sir. I pick it from the middle, taking Professor Bamanja's submission from that reform. It's particularly about the 6344. Yeah. That's newly introduced for.
Yeah.
Because I've been principal for almost 10 years.
Yes.
And I know that students don't complete this syllabus.
They don't.
They are almost SS2 students when they go for WAEC.
Sure.
A lot is left uncovered. So when he said 6344, yes, I was quite happy with that 4.
Very good.
And I just hope that Sierra Leone can receive it and go back to it, and that other African countries can see it,
yes, and
emulate it. That's 1 year. Eventually, these students, they list at home. They miss WAEC, right on that one. Some of them miss 3 years staying at home,
yes,
because that's 1 year that they fail to use to study.
Sure.
That's a bright spot I'm seeing from Sierra Leone.
Good.
And from Burundi, about the harmonized African stuff. It's a beautiful development. But my major worry there is that since it's harmonized general curriculum, is there anybody on ground that is going to monitor the quality in Burundi is the same quality in Kenya, so that differences in space will not lead to diversion or mismanagement of the beautiful thing that's going to achieve.
Okay.
And the bright spot that I see in Ghana is the fact that Ghana is now encompassing the community knowledge.
Yes, that's it.
I remember I had a professor that day about the difference between community knowledge and other one. That Ghana is now harmonizing the community knowledge into their school system. In other words, bringing community knowledge to see that so the students can see the relationship, the relevance in what they are learning into their community. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, I'm going to call Fred Awa now from Ghana, and I'm going to call David from DRC in that order. So, Fred, please take the floor. We're looking at the bright spots. You see, our giants in STEM education have come to speak with us, and they are letting us know what are the things that are happening. Like I said, don't let's bemoan the past. Don't let's keep talking about already what we know, overloaded curriculum, all of those things. Let's move on. Those bright spots that we can sustain. So, Fred Awa of Ghana, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. From the discussions from Ghana, Burundi, and also Sierra Leone, one underlining principle is that the reforms are backed by expertise or expert knowledge. Take, for instance, Ghana.
Sure.
Apart from the framework of our educational system, there was the Jofos Anamwa Commission, meaning that there's a certain recognition for knowledge-based reforms.
Good.
Okay, so his commission came out with recommendation based on his experiences in higher education within and outside of Ghana, and that is also reflective of the Bamanja Commission in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
That they just did not come up with reforms based on their own orientation, but they realized that there was an expert in that area who has who's been in the higher educational system within the African region for a while. So I think that those are the two key issues that reflect Ghana and then Sierra Leone. But I haven't seen it clearly in the case of Burundi, but I want to believe that the BMT is not a product of someone's orientation, but products of research.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So David from DRC.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, David. We can hear you.
Yeah, Professor. Yeah, what I mean, my advice I told this morning is joining what Professor Juma Shabani is saying about harmonizing curricula in East Africa community. you see, as I told the professor, what is good, as they will have a curricula which is harmonized in the 6 countries. I mean that DRC will join East African Community in a few days also.
Yes.
So you can see to find a job for students from university, from secondary class to get instruction somewhere, it can't be difficult.
Sure.
If we can start harmonizing, in that case, we start by East Africa Community. I can see Ghana, Nigeria, they also have implemented already STEAM. As LASU is there, we can now divide Africa into 3 spaces.
Okay.
East Africa Community, Western Africa Community, and then the South or the Center Africa. We will have one curricula for the Africa.
Wow.
You can see like provide organics,
wow,
which we found in Madagascar.
Yeah.
If it was in the own laboratory for all countries for Africa,
wow,
we couldn't joke with us. We could be strong.
Yes.
All together.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's quite deep and very, very impressive. I appreciate that, David. Now I'm going to call Francis now. Although I didn't warn you, but Francis, please take the floor, and then I'll need a lady from Burundi. I don't know if I'll just check if Bugoma is here or Francois. Let me see those who are here. Professor Shabani, can you get somebody from Burundi who will, a lady preferably from Burundi? Professor Shabani, can you please get a lady from Burundi that's after Francis? The lady from Burundi. I'm scrolling now to find out. We're already 52 in class, so we have. I can't see Bugoma. Bugoma is not here. All right, so. Okay, that's fine. So Francis, please take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now, the first thing I noticed in the last presentation is that the National Commission there is for both universities and other tertiary institutions. And whereas in Nigeria here, we have just NUC, that's a National University Commission that just takes care of universities only. I'm aware that maybe Nigeria is more populated and might have more universities than Burundi. But I want to put it in a sort of question. I don't know how efficient the commission will be if it is covering all the universities, covering all the higher institutions, polytechnics, and maybe colleges of education in the country. I wonder how they will be able to manage all this at the same time. In the case of Burundi, in the case of Sierra Leone, I didn't get it quite right whether, I didn't get it quite well, whether their own commission is also embracing all the higher institutions in the country, or specifically for universities. So in a situation where these commissions are split to cater for colleges of education, universities alone, and then maybe polytechnics, I feel they will be doing better job to concentrate and monitor the system of education very well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. If you don't mind, maybe I just make a quick response. We have 16 minutes to end this session. Maybe I make a quick response to what you have just said. You know, in 1962 was when NUC was set up, and then later you had the MBT and NCC people. What has happened, Francis and the others, is that people do not want to give up their empires. So empires have been created. The better model, in my view, I don't know the views of others, is to have a tertiary education commission. Tertiary, just like we have in Burundi, you have elsewhere. So having it as international universities, by the way, it's universities, rather university commission, rather than have it as universities commission. Okay, please stop that. Okay, let's, sorry, let me just put that one off. We'll have a global, an omnibus entity. And let me tell you that nothing will be lost. No bone is broken by a system whereby you have the Tertiary Education Commission, and then there's a department in that same commission that will be dealing with universities. There's a department that will be dealing with colleges of education. There's a department that will be dealing with polytechnics. So that way, in fact, the Oronsaye Commission recommended it. And we are hoping that will happen. But you see, to change the law, to change the NUC law, to change the MBT law, to change the other laws, people will resist it. They're already enjoying their small kingdoms. So they don't want it to collapse. They don't want to collapse it with others. So in other countries, Francis, I want to end by that. You have the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research. If you go to most universities, you have them as how do you call it now? You have them as you specialize them, so to speak. So you have two ministers: Minister of Basic Education and Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research. But that is neither here nor there with regard to. Of course, each country is idiosyncratic. That means you do it the way you want to do it. So that's the thing. So I can see that Professor Olugbemi wants to take the floor. I will let him do that in a minute. But what I want to do is, let me see now. I'm waiting for Professor Shabani to name one person from Burundi. Professor Shabani, you don't have any Burundi students here. There are so many of them, so let them talk. Professor Shabani, are you here?
You should have mute.
Yeah, I've unmuted him. Professor Shabani.
Yes.
What happened to your students in Burundi? There are many in the class.
Maybe they are hiding there.
Okay, so I was thinking that. No, I was thinking that. No, I was thinking, Professor Shabani. I was thinking that today is their day. Their director, their boss is making a presentation. They should all be here, and if we were to be in Nigeria, it's like a football match. When Sierra Leone is playing, you have people come, like Nigeria. If we ask Professor Briggs to present now, all the Nigerian students will come and clap for Professor Briggs, and So I'm not happy though. I have to tell you that your Burundi students are not coming into DRC. Yes, we have seen David, but I'm sure next time they will rise up to the challenge. So let me get on to Professor Olugbemi very briefly, sir. Just unmute your microphone and take the floor. Okay, we can't get Professor Jegede now to
Are you all right now? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
You can hear me. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Make it very brief. Make it very brief, please. Make it very brief.
It's going to be very, very, very brief, sir. And good morning. Out of this now, I've started at a few problems, which I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, you need a shave. You need a shave. By the way, you need a shave.
Yeah, I know, but this is we are locked down.
We are locked down. No, your shaving stick is not locked down, Olu. Olu, get your shaving stick.
I'm locked down in my house. Anyway, I love the presentations, and particularly the way they've taken us through secondary higher harmonization already. What I want to talk about is the challenges which have been mentioned. And I think we have a problem in Africa, and those challenges must be taken care of. And we know that. Oh, sorry, I'm coming. We know that the level of education of any country, the level of STEM education in any country will determine the level of development in that country.
Sure.
So we want to know what all these people, the representatives of their countries, have done to raise the level of the scientists, the researchers in science, and know that, particularly making reference to SDG goals, COP21, Agenda 2063, and CESA 2016. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Olugoro Jegede. Yeah, great man indeed, great man as always. All right, so let's have, they have noted, our presenters have noted this. I'm going to ask them towards the end. So I'd like comments from Professor Michael Faborode, Professor Oche Nanzewi, briefly in that order. Our VC now is already raising his hand. And let me just write down the sequence very quickly. So we're taking Professor Michael Faborode first. Professor Oche Nanzewi, representing for gender equity purposes, representing a professor, the #1 professor of science education, female. And then we have Professor Nimi Briggs will come in after Professor Ubadam at VC now. So I have 4 people, Professor Faborode, Professor Oche Nanzewi, VC now, and Professor Nimi Briggs. Please take the floor in that order.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I hope my voice is clear because
very clear, very clear.
Okay.
Also the video.
He hasn't shaved. He hasn't shaved.
He has shaved, Olu. Olu, we shaved. He has shaved this one. But he said, I don't know. Okay. Say Olu.
I was going to recognize all those that are carrying white hair like me in the panel.
Plenty of.
Yeah. Very interesting presentations by Professor Bamanja and Professor Shabani. And I just want to make a remark that this is a very lucky class with a rich harvest of facilitators who are enriching their knowledge. And I think they should take very good advantage of this. It's like a leadership academy to be actually,
exactly.
Not just
exactly.
a statistics class and so. Sure. And that reminds me of the side comments that I was hearing in the last few days. And when there is this discussion about the new chief of staff for Nigeria, and the person that is being speculated, Professor Gambari, says 75 years. And I saw some young talks in our discussion group saying, they're going to pick one of these old men again. And I mean, all the young, but I realized that the young ones continue to demonstrate dedication. Sure. I mean, to knowledge. And that's why I appreciate the way this leadership academy is grooming our upcoming colleagues, and so they should take very good advantage of it. I think we the young ones should enable us to be able to be more confident and know that they are ready to take over in Africa and show us the direction using new technologies and so on. So thank you to the professors for providing the inspiration for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Professor Michael Faborode was Vice Chancellor of one of Nigeria's leading universities, Obafemi Awolowo University. He was Vice Chancellor about 72 years ago in that university. And he was Secretary General of the Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigeria Universities. So we are very lucky he's part of this leadership academy. Over to you, Professor Oche Nanzewi.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to appreciate what is happening in Sierra Leone and then in Burundi. The example of special science schools was an experiment that some states in Nigeria started, and it works very well. But suddenly they are closing them up, which is really, really a pity. We had one wonderful special science school here in Nsukka, and people were coming from all over to read here. Fortunately, now it's been converted into a regular school. And when I inquired, they said it's due to lack of funding. Funding continues to play a central role. And my interest in the special science school in Nsukka was because it was an all-girls school.
Oh, wow.
So it was a very beautiful place, providing all kinds of human capacity. And a lot of those things that cause underrepresentation in the STEM discipline, in female underrepresentation, which Professor Bamanja mentioned, we are all taken out of that school because the teachers were given a particular orientation on how they will teach and what have you. So unfortunately, I didn't get the detail about what they do in Burundi to encourage their females. But one thing I want to say is that development has to take care of male and female for it to be sustainable.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Professor Uche Nanzewi. We'll continue to depend on your leadership in science education, especially those aspects of it that relate to promoting the achievement, promoting the access, retention, and performance of girls and women in science and technology. Professor Uba, Vice Chancellor, Abdallah Uba, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, and good morning, afternoon, participants. Mine is very brief. First of all, I want to go to the Burundi case. Yes. And just like Professor Uche said, they had started science secondary schools and they eventually ended up flat. My PhD thesis at Sussex University in 1988 was actually on the development of science secondary schools in Kano State, which were the first in Africa. Yes. And after a couple of years, all these science secondary schools just simply fell flat. Sure. The International Institute for Educational Parallelism in UNESCO commissioned me to write a book about these schools, and I'm willing to share it with the chairman, who can send it to anybody who wants to see what happened, yes, how we started, and how we ended up where we are, because the schools are now just regular conventional schools. Yes. That's number one. Number two, about STEM education. STEM education, to me, is a process, not a process of integration of various concepts. It's like we're going back to social studies, integrated science arguments that were very, very popular in the 60s and the 70s, and that didn't go anywhere. So for us to move forward in STEM education, we really need to find a way of making it part of mainstream. Sure. How do we examine it, for instance? Who is responsible for it? How can we deliver it? Because, like I said, I see STEM education as a process, not as a product. And our examination system, and I still go back to Rondo's thesis of diploma disease, we are still affiliated with this pandemic of diploma disease. Like you said, sir, everybody has his own little empire. MBTE, NUC, and all that. So the same thing with diploma disease. Every parent wants his child to pass his examination. None of all this interactive learning, constructive learning, everybody wants a child to have 9 credits, 10 credits, 20 credits so that they can go to the best university. And they are willing to break the rule. They are willing to pay 38,000 naira in order to get those 11 credits. So how to dream? Because at the moment it's a process, just like social studies did. And this integrated system ends with, in the United States, a course of study failed because people started thinking that they're not really learning anything. Yeah. So if we STEM education is a concept, as a process, how do we make it mainstream? Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Vice Chancellor Professor Abdallah Uba Adamu, Vice Chancellor, National Open University of Nigeria. Okay, let me mute. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now I will ask Professor Juma Shabani in just 1 minute, because we have 3 minutes to close this session, 2 minutes to close this session. I will ask him to just make a few statements in 1 minute. Professor Juma Shabani, please.
Yes, thank you. Just the issues of harmonization very quickly. Yeah. The one in the East African community, this is part of the protocol for establishing the community. Yes. And the way it is done, it involves all the stakeholders, universities. Then we have a university public-private partnership forum, which will be involved in all of this. And it is really a very demanding process. So it's not imposed on people. People should agree on that. Sure. Now, when it comes to issues of quality assuring those programs, we have a regional quality assurance framework in the East African community. And each country should try to align on those basic norms to make sure that we are talking the same language. Now, when it comes to BMD, of course, this took a lot of research, starting from Europe with the Bologna process. It took them 10 years. In Africa, it takes time. You know, people should go discuss. There is even an initiative between European and African Union called Tuning Africa, also doing research on that, documenting. So when people come to accept to implement, it is ready after a series of research and so on. I think the others were more or less comments.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Professor Juma Shabani, for your responses to the issues raised. I will now invite, give me a minute now. I will now invite the president of the Nigeria Academy of Science, Professor Mostonuoha, to make this presentation on our behalf to Professor Juma Shabani. Over to you, sir, Professor Mostonuoha.
Yes, so I do this very happily to my colleague. This is appreciation from Lagos State University, the Africa Center of Excellence for Innovative and Transformative STEM Education, which is a World Bank project. This is to certify that Professor Juma Shabani facilitated courses ACE 812 and ACE 912 between May 11th and 17th, 2020. And this is signed by the director of the program, Professor Peter Okebukola, OFR.
Thank you so very much, sir. I'm going to unmute everybody, so we'll give a round of applause to Professor Juma Shabani, and also to, although we're already giving him a round of applause, to Professor
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So thank you so very much. Next week is another time, and so God bless you all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.